Last week, the Washington Post accused Russia of hacking into the U.S. power grid through a Vermont utility. On Monday, the newspaper cited investigators stating the Russian government was not involved in the cyber attack. Now the Washington Post is drawing heavy criticism for what could be the first fake news story of the year. RT's Emily Sue reports on the top fake news stories of 2016.
We're all guilty. We scroll down our Facebook newsfeed, see something outrageous, and then click and share it without even checking if it's real or not. And now BuzzFeed has come up with the 50 most popular fake news in 2016. Before I tell you what's on the list, though, remember how everybody blamed fake news for Trump's victory? Well, if fake news was what drove Americans to vote for Trump, you would have thought political and pro-Trump stories must have dominated the list, right? Wrong. Less than half of them fall under the politics category. Now, to be fair, some of those are pro-Trump, but others are dubious or just outright anti-Trump. But there's more to it. Take this anti-Clinton story, for instance. It came from the website called The Resistance, The Last Line of Defense. Sounds like the title of the latest Star Wars installment, doesn't it? Under their About Us tab, they say they're a group of educated, God-fearing Christian conservative patriots who are tired of Obama's tyrannical reign and ready to see a strong Republican take the White House. But are they for real? Not quite. Check out their disclaimer. All articles should be considered satirical, and any and all quotes attributed to actual people are complete and total baloney. So what they're publishing isn't fake news, it's meant to be political satire. Here's another website featured on the list by the name of SatireTribune.com. Check out the headline on their homepage. Dick Cheney found alive at 75 years old. Really?
Really?
The bottom line is this. When we're fishing for fake news, it's inevitable that some satire stories will be caught up in the net. Then the whole thing really turns into a test of your sense of humor rather than your political stance.
Let's go to Lionel tonight, LionelMedia.com, to discuss the Washington Post false accusations. Lionel, great to have you with us in the new year. I guess in 2017, the Washington Post is going to have a new department over there called the Oh, by the way department.
Right. Or the never mind, oops, my bad. The Washington Compost. Ed, when you and I started during the Harding administration, there was an expression they used to always do on TV shows or movies, stop the presses. Remember that? They always said, stop the presses. Kids today say, what the hell are you talking about, stop? Well, you know what? Today, you can stop the presses. Washington Compost could have immediately just wiped this story out, issued an apologia, we're sorry, it's wrong. But what they do, Ed, is incrementally. And by the way, this is all verifiable through Wayback Machine, a great little site, a great little website tool that can allow you to see how stories evolve. They incrementally make a little change here, a little change there. They save the headline last. Now understand, the story's wrong. The story gives people the impression that these nefarious Kremlin hijackers are going to ruin the electrical grid of the country, and it's wrong.
Lionel, okay, you and I did start during the Harding administration, or maybe even the Wilson administration, I don't know. Right. But people used to get fired when this happened.
Yes.
People used to lose their job. There used to be people who their names were, well, we let X, Y, and Z go because they screwed up on the story and it affected too many people. What happened to that?
Ed, I want you to go back in time. Imagine turning a TV show on, this is a little different, and seeing Walter Cronkite gooned out of his mind, waxed, getting up Piers, drunk. You would have said, this doesn't happen. And it's a new world that I'm not sure I'm too comfortable in.
Well, I guess if the Washington Post had owned CBS, Dan Rather still be anchoring the news. Good to have you with us tonight, Lionel. Always a pleasure.
Indeed, sir. Happy New Year.
Russia hacked the 2016 U.S. elections. Now, that's a headline seen over and over again since Donald Trump was elected president. But RT correspondent Ashley Banks explains one popular cybersecurity company has come to a much different conclusion.
1 week after President Obama used his executive order to expel 35 Russian diplomats and shut down 2 facilities for their government's alleged role in the U.S. election, there are still skeptics who are not convinced Russia is to blame. Now, one of those skeptics is WordFence, a popular website management and software engineering company known for its cybersecurity. WordFence recently analyzed the IP addresses and PHP malware samples listed in the government's report, where it concludes that Russian intelligence operatives are linked to the election compromise. Now, of the 876 IP addresses listed in the U.S. government report, WordFence found most of the IP addresses distributions were from the U.S., followed by Russia and the Netherlands. And when it looked at who owned the IP addresses, WordFence found many hosting companies were among the owners, meaning that these same companies provide low-cost hosting to customers, and sometimes the accounts by these hosts are compromised, hacked, and then used to launch attacks on the web. Now, in its conclusion of its review, WordFence found the PHP malware linked to the election hack was actually made in the Ukraine. And on its website, WordFence goes on to say the malware sample is old, widely used, and appears to be Ukrainian. It has no apparent relationship with Russian intelligence, and it would be an indicator of compromise for any website. Now, Mark Munder, the CEO of WordFence, says the government's report doesn't have enough data to conclude a direct link that Russia interfered with the U.S. election.
What's in the report doesn't actually include enough data, in our opinion, to show that there's a clear link that Russia interfered with the U.S. election. What's in the report is actually indicators of compromise that any systems administrator could use to figure out that they've been hacked. There's some stuff in there that is associated with previous Russian activity, but it's not evidence of a Russian link, and I think a lot of people are interpreting it as that. There are tools in the report that are sort of general tools that are used by any hacker, so if you find some of the malware that's in the report on your network, it doesn't mean that you were hacked by Russia, the report also doesn't conclusively prove that Russia interfered with the election.
In the meantime, the Obama administration has announced a more detailed report on the intelligence will be released in the next several weeks. However, much of the information linking the cyber election hack to the Russian government will remain classified. In Washington, Ashley Banks, RT.